What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Happily Ever After Season 8, The Tell All No Limits Part 3. So this was a very good episode because y'all, the comeuppance that Angela received from her own private investigator, from someone that I'm assuming she paid money to try to smear her husband, the way that this completely backfired on her, y'all, it was iconic. So we're still on Michael and Angela, right? We're still talking about Michael and Angela. Angela accuses Michael of lying. Her daughter Skyla co-signs to this, saying that there's times when we've caught him in lies. He can't keep his lies together. He can't keep his lies straight. Angela talks about how Michael has a way of like gaslighting her, making her think that she's crazy because the way that he's so convincing in his lies. And she says, he can even convince you that he's lying. So then Angela says that his only concern is the green card. She talks about how as soon as they landed in the United States, the first question he asked her was, when is he going to get his green card? When is he going to get his green card? Michael says, well, isn't that the process? Isn't that the process? Then what the hell am I doing here if it's not for a damn green card? They talk about the whole Paradise Men thing, the chat group that he was a part of, where Angela thinks it was a group of scamming Nigerian men who were looking for older American women to victimize or to scam them into coming to America, using them for green cards. And she thinks that it's this whole entire crime ring of Nigerian men who wanted to just use American women to come over here for a damn green card. Now, everybody else on stage said that, not everybody else, but it was Thaís, it was also Sophie, who said that they've been part of these chat groups as well. They're like, there are chat groups out there for foreigners where it's like a support group where we're all sharing information and supporting each other and helping each other out in this whole entire immigration process when we have a partner that lives in the United States. Um, the question to Michael was, why were you a part of this group? Michael says because he was denied so many times before. So he wanted to know more about the spousal visa. He was just trying to help himself out. So then the private investigator, they talk about the private investigator and they show the clip of when Angela and Skyla met up with the private investigator and how she had wanted to get all this information on her husband to prove that he was scamming her, to prove that he was cheating on her. Michael was not aware. And when he saw the clip, he was actually shocked that, Angela was doing this. So Ed said, that's the smartest thing that Angela could have done, was hiring this private investigator. So the private investigator comes out on stage. He has this really thick stack of papers. He says he has a 189-page report. He had 5 different investigators digging into Michael's life, trying to get some dirt on him. Excuse me. And the private eye gives Michael an opportunity to confess before he goes into his report. So he tells Michael, is there anything that you think we need to know about or that Angela needs to know about before I talk about my findings? And I thought when he asked that, right then and there, I knew that he had nothing on Michael, because it was almost as if he was hoping Michael would be so scared about what was in his report that he would confess to things that the private investigator didn't even find. So I thought it was a way I thought the private investigator was like trying to save face because he knew he had nothing on Michael. So he wanted Michael to confess something. That's what I thought. That's what I felt like. So when he asked him that question, right then and there, I knew. I was like, this private investigator has nothing on Michael. Nothing was found on Michael. So of course, Michael is like, no, I don't. There's something that I need to confess. So the question was, the private investigator asked Michael, how many Facebook accounts do you have? He said 1. Private investigator said that he had found no, he said 1, and then that was it. And Michael said, the one that I have, Angela controls it. Then the other question was, do you have an Instagram? He said no. The private investigator said that he found 3 different Instagram accounts with his name, I guess, or linked to him or something. Michael says that people imitate him. Now, this is very common in social media, especially with people who are well known, or, your so-called celebrities. People will create fake pages, right? People will create fake pages. And so that's very common. It's not a big deal. It's very common. People do that. So I was kind of like, what kind of a private investigator is this, who couldn't figure out that these who couldn't figure out whether or not these Instagram pages were legit Michael's or not? Like, how could he not? I mean, he's got 5 investigators. He acts like he can like dig really deep into someone's life, but you can't follow an IP address. You can't figure out if this IP address is linked to Michael or not with these fake accounts. So that was really strange. So, and the way the private investigator was asking Michael, or trying to confront Michael with these social media platforms, it was like he was trying to intimidate him into confessing something that really wasn't true. Because he started off by saying, well, how many Facebook accounts do you have? And Michael was like, 1, and Angela controls it. And then he was like, are you sure about that? Kind of like making Michael feel as if, he found something. I don't know. So the private investigator, I felt like he knew he had nothing, and he was trying to intimidate Michael into making a false confession, or he wanted Michael to confess something so that his work didn't seem like it was in vain. So the private investigator asks about this woman, Cheetah. Michael says he was helping her mother trying to come to the United States, or helping her mother's immigration process. Angela was like, aha, I knew you were lying, because you told me that you were trying to help her husband, and now you're saying her mother. I knew you were lying. Who the hell knows? The private investigator says that there was a woman that he found who was not related to Michael, but he really couldn't confirm if there was anything going on between him and the woman. He mentions the woman's name, which they bleeped out on the show. And Michael was like, yeah, I know her. And like, what's your point? And they asked the private investigator, did you find any evidence that Michael was cheating? The private investigator said no. So Angela, at this point, she says something about how there was a woman. I think whoever this woman that the name that they bleeped out, whoever she is, Angela said, oh, that woman was trying to get with Michael. No, that woman was trying to get with Gino. Gino didn't fall for the okie doke, but Michael did. Of course, there's no receipts or proof of what she's saying, of Michael falling for the okie doke, or falling for the trap that this woman set. So who the hell knows? Gina was like, don't put my name in this. Don't put my name in this. I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about. Y'all leave me out of this. So Angela gets frustrated. She ends up leaving. She's like, I don't care what that report says. I'm out of here. So she ends up leaving. Skyla stays. Skyla is like, regardless of what the report says, I do believe that he is scamming my mom, that he was using my mom for a green card. So we still believe that he's a liar. So it doesn't matter. Even though they're the ones that found this PI, they're the ones that paid this PI. The PI came back with nothing bad against Michael. They're not going to believe it. So, there was no evidence of him scamming. And so, okay, but Skylar still believes that he's scamming. Now, as far as the scamming thing, let's talk about that. I've always thought that Michael definitely was using Angela just for a green card, because Michael, the way that he is, he's this really quiet, sweet nature type of guy. I was like, there's no way that this man is really into this woman. Like, this man is really attracted to her, really wants to be with her, loves her, is in love with her, and really wants to commit his life to her. Like, I just find that really hard to believe. So I'm thinking the only reason why these two people's paths have crossed is only because this man was trying to find a way to come to the United States, and she fell for his charms, or whatever he used to try to get her, she fell for it. But if the private eye is saying that there's no evidence of him scamming her, and that he's really on the up and up with her, then I have no choice but to take back what I said and believe that Michael really was into Angela. I don't know if he still is now, even though he ran away from her. I don't know if he still has feelings for her. I have to believe that Michael was really attracted to this woman and had real feelings for her. And it wasn't about a green card, it was just about them being together. Like, I have to make myself believe that because the PI said there's no evidence of him using her or scamming her. So, yeah, I just have to take back what I said and just be like, okay, so this was a real relationship at one point. This man really loved this woman and had feelings for her, and he really wanted to be with her. Green card or no green card, he really wanted to be with her, and I just have to accept that. Moving on to Patrick and Thaís. So they talk about Thais's breast augmentation. So she got a boob job. She said that being pregnant changed her body. Breastfeeding made her boobs really saggy. So she wanted to get her boobs done. She says it wasn't just that. She says, Patrick even wanted me to get bigger breasts. And Patrick was like, you wanted to get smaller breasts, and I didn't want you to do that. And so then Thaís says, well, you even showed me an actress of whose boobs you liked that you wanted mine to look like. And the actress was Demi Moore when she did the movie Striptease. And they showed a clip of that. They showed, like, not a clip, but a picture of Demi Moore in Striptease. Y'all, look, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, Patrick, I don't know what's going on here, but there's much better boobs out there. I thought when she said that, there's an actress in a movie whose breasts that he really admired and he wanted hers to look like that. I thought she was talking like, an adult movie or something. But Demi Moore in Striptease, okay. So they talk about the boob thing, and she's saying that he wanted me to get bigger boobs. He's trying to make it look like he really wasn't that much of an a-hole to want that from his wife, to want that of his wife. But, it is what it is. Patrick wants more children. He says he wants them to keep having children until he gets a boy. Thaís says she's basically done. She's basically like, at first she says, well, I want to wait about 5 more years before we have another baby. And Patrick is like, I don't care. I just want to have more children. Then she said that sometimes she avoids sex with him because, I guess their method of birth control is the pull-out method, and that's not 100% guaranteed. So sometimes she doesn't even want to have sex with him. And I'm like, why are y'all like, if both of you know that you don't want any children right now, this minute, why aren't y'all using birth control? I don't understand that. Like, why are y'all using a very, um, a very, what's the word, unsafe method of preventing pregnancy, or a very unsure method of preventing pregnancy? Why are y'all doing that? If y'all know that, okay, he wants to have a whole bunch of kids, I really don't want to have any more right away, but y'all know that you don't want to have any more kids right now, then why aren't y'all using birth control? So Thaís also, I remember Thaís also said in a previous episode of the Tell All, I don't know if it was episode 1 or 2, but she said that she sometimes, if she doesn't have sex with Patrick, he automatically thinks that she's cheating. And I thought to myself, how sad. How sad that you feel like in order to prove your fidelity to your husband, you have to have sex even when you don't want to prove to him that you're not cheating. And that's just a god awful thing for a husband to make his wife do. Like, if you're not having sex with me, then I'm gonna think you're cheating. Like, she can't just not be in the mood. She can't just not be like, she's not feeling well. She has to give it up, or you're gonna automatically think she's cheating. That doesn't sound very healthy. Thais basically asks him, well, what would you say, or how would you feel if I told you I don't want to have any more kids? And Patrick says, I'd be really sad. Patrick really wants a boy. He really wants a boy. And people like that, y'all, like, that's a very controversial thing. Um, like, I'm not understand. Like, you don't know what type of a child you're going to have. So if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, I want to have a boy so that we can, play baseball, we'll both be into sports, we'll both be into video games together, we'll both be into fishing and hunting. And, I really want that. That's why I want to have a boy to do all these, father-son things. You might have a son that doesn't want to do any of that. You might have a son who just was a little bit more artistic than he is athletic. You might have a son who's probably more into ballet than he is into football. You don't know what type of child you're going to have. Just because you're going to be a specific gender doesn't mean they're going to satisfy this image of what you're expecting, this image that you have on what it's like to have a girl or a boy. On the flip side, if you're a woman and you really want to have a girl because you want to take her to ballet, you want her to be a cheerleader, you want to dress her up in bows and dresses, she may not be into any of that stuff. She may want to go hunting and fishing with her dad. So you just, this whole thing of like, I have a vision of how my child will be, so I want to have a child that's going to fulfill this vision. To me, that's just, it's not healthy. That's all I can say about that. It's just not very healthy. They're now living in Miami. And Thaís has concerns when Patrick is on the road for work. So Patrick sells security alarm systems, and he travels a lot for work. And so they track their locations of one another on their phones, because Thaís says that sometimes she is worried about what Patrick is up to. Like, I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding that type of lifestyle. That type of lifestyle it's not for me, y'all. It's not for me. I can't be keeping track of no grown adult person. If I have suspicions of my partner being up to no good, I might as well just call it quits or just put up and shut up. But this whole thing of tracking and looking into people's phone, I don't understand that lifestyle. To me, that's bringing yourself a lot more stress than necessary. So they keep each other's location, they track each other's locations. Manuel says that couples who do that are toxic couples. So John comes on stage. They talk about what happened in Brazil, where John got into that confrontation with Thaís's friend, and he called her friend a slut after the friend called him, I think, an a-hole or something. So they talk about that. Sean points out how Patrick doesn't really take a side between his wife and his brother. And when that situation happened, where, Thaís felt really offended that John called her friend a slut, and John felt very justified because the friend accused him of trying to influence Patrick into cheating on Thaís. Patrick stayed mute. He didn't take a side. And the question was, like, why do you do that? Why don't you pick a side? And Patrick said he doesn't want to have to choose because he loves both of them. And Thaís believes that I'm your wife, so you should always take my side. But in that particular situation, that specific situation, I felt like her friend was wrong. And maybe Patrick did overreact, but the friend started the mess by accusing someone that she doesn't even know, accusing him of doing something that was so awful. You know, um, the friend was in the wrong. And for Thaís to not see that, I don't understand how she didn't understand how her friend was in the wrong. But anyways, um, I feel like in the majority of situations in general, spouses need to stick up for each other. The point blank period. But there are times when your spouse is wrong. And when your spouse is wrong, you can let them know that, hey, yeah, I'm sorry, but I really don't agree with what you did or with what you said. But I think that, I don't know, because I think with Patrick, I don't know what to say. I think with Patrick, he doesn't want to choose his brother's side because I think Thaís is going to probably retaliate in some way. Either she's going to stop talking to him, she's going to stop sleeping with him. There's going to be some type of repercussion. So that's why he can't really take John's side. And I think that he doesn't take Thaís's side. I think because a lot of the times Thaís may be wrong. You know what I mean? And he doesn't want to take her side because John is going to look at him crazy like, what are you doing? She's obviously wrong in this. Like her whole thing about how John doesn't say hi to her when he comes over to their house. He says he does. The only one that could really say for sure if that happens or not would be Patrick. And I think Patrick said, like, what are you talking about? He does say hi to you. Thais insisted that this man never says hi to her whenever he comes over. Thais was really harping on that. And she even cried about that because she saw that as very disrespectful. And she thinks that her husband is allowing his brother to disrespect her. And to me, I felt like there had to be something more to why she felt disrespected than him coming to their house and just not saying hi. There had to be something else. There had to be something more to it because it didn't make any sense to me. Like, why don't you say hi? I understand that he's the guest coming into the home and maybe it's his responsibility to greet the homeowners, but why don't you say hi? Now, if you say hi to him first and he doesn't respond or he ignores you, then Patrick really does need to step in and correct his brother. But if John comes over, he doesn't say hi, she doesn't say hi, Patrick is probably like, okay, they don't want to speak to each other. I'm going to let it go. It's not a big deal to me. Neither one of them said hi. So if Thais feels like this man is extremely disrespectful, then when he comes over, you try saying hi to him. And if he ignores you and your husband doesn't do anything about it, then you've got something to stand on by telling your husband, I'm trying to be the nice one. I'm showing him respect by acknowledging his presence in my home, but he still ignores me. And Patrick needs to check that behavior in his brother. But if he don't say it, then she don't say it, what is Patrick going to do? So she gets all in her feelings, she starts crying and everything about that. I don't know if I'm even in the right spot here. She starts crying about that. I was just like, I don't understand, girl, like why you are so bent out of shape because this man doesn't say hi, especially when you don't even like him. You don't like him. And y'all, from what I've seen, I feel like Thais might be the kind of person where when John comes over, she probably leaves the living room. She probably goes off into the back somewhere because she doesn't want to deal with him. I think that's probably more closer to the truth than what either one of them is saying. I think when John comes over or when she knows he's about to come in, she leaves because she doesn't want to have anything to do with him. So Thais got her green card and now she's able to travel, to Brazil anytime she wants. And she says now she can travel alone because she has a green card. She can travel alone. She doesn't have to Patrick doesn't have to accompany her. So Sean asked her, do you plan on traveling alone to Brazil? And I thought Sean was being messy as hell, but those are the kind of questions that we need asked. And do you plan on traveling to Brazil alone? And of course, I think she said yes. And Patrick was like, well, I'm going to go with her. I'm going to follow her to Brazil. Um, then they asked her, do you want to live in Brazil? And Thais said yes, she would love to live in Brazil. And they asked Patrick, how do you feel about living in Brazil? And Patrick says, if that's where she wants to go, that's where I'm going to go too. And I understand that she wants to go there because, she'll have her family there. And there's going to be a higher chance of us having more children because one of the reasons that she gave for not having any more children was that she doesn't have a support group. All she has, I guess is daycare. But she doesn't work. Now let's backtrack a little bit. Thais does not work outside. Well, she doesn't work outside the home. She might do her social media stuff or whatever, but she doesn't work outside the home. So when she said that, and the baby's in daycare, okay, their daughter is in daycare. So when she talked about how, it's so overwhelming, blah, 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 she does this all by herself because Patrick travels a lot. Lauren steps in and says, even if you put your child in daycare, you're still in mom mode. And I was like, what? You're always in mom mode because you're a mom, and that never stops. Even your child could be a full-grown adult living on their own, doing their own thing, and you always will be in mom mode. So for Lauren to be like, even if you put your child in daycare, you're still in mom mode. You're thinking about all the cleaning and the cooking and the schedules and the this and the that. And I'm like, what are you trying to input, Lauren? Um, First of all, if I stayed home, and I'm not trying to be judgy. If I was a stay-at-home mom, if I didn't have to work outside the home, my child wouldn't be in daycare. I don't think I could put my child in daycare. I would do the play dates so that my child can be socialized and be around other children. But I don't think I could just drop my child off in daycare and then go back home and go to sleep or, do social media or whatever. I don't think I could do that. Maybe I would hire a nanny, for a couple of hours a day if I'm really busy at home with my own stuff, or if I worked from home or something like that, but I wouldn't take my child to daycare if I was a stay-at-home mom. Okay, so they talk about living in Brazil, blah blah blah. So Patrick was like, yeah, he's all for it because it would help her decide. It will help her choose to want to have more children if she's living in Brazil because she'll have her family to help her with the kids. Moving on to Rob and Sophia. Rob and Sophia, they're together, they're not together, they're together, they're not together. Who the hell knows? But as of today, they're not together. Sophie says that yeah, we're not living together, but we're still hanging out, and there's no intimacy between them. So I don't know what the hell that means. I think Sophie is really doing Rob wrong. She doesn't want to let him go, but she doesn't want to be in a full-time marriage with him. She's like almost in a way she's trying to have it both ways. She wants to be able to do her own thing, whatever that own thing is. She wants to do her own thing, like hang out with her friends and party. I don't know what she's trying to do, but she doesn't want to be divorced. She still, when she needs that companionship, I guess, from Rob or whatever, or when she wants to play a part-time wifey, Rob is still there to do it because she knows that Rob is willing to work with her as long as she's going to pretend as if she still wants to stay in this marriage. Rob will stick around. So she's keeping this poor man in limbo. Rob says he plans to move back to LA. She doesn't want to go back to LA, or she's not sure if she will follow him in LA. Okay, so that's her playing those mind games again. They talk about how there's no intimacy between them. Sophie says that she doesn't do angry sex. She's not one of those people that does the angry sex or the makeup sex. Gino's like, oh, I understand because you just have to be emotionally in a certain type of mood, to want to be intimate with your partner. And if both of y'all are angry, like Gino doesn't understand why you would want to be intimate. And Sophie, I guess, is of the same belief. Ashley asks why, she asks Sophie specifically, why do you think you and Rob broke up? She couldn't give a clear answer. She does talk about how he doesn't give her words of affirmations, and that's her love language. She needs to be told that she's beautiful, that she's attractive, and he just doesn't do that. And that bothers her. They don't go out on dates at all. That also bothers her. And so Rob says that he is still in this marriage. He's still willing to work it out. Patrick says that Rob is delusional because he says to him, if y'all can't be in the same home, there is no way this marriage is going to work. You cannot fix a broken marriage living separately. And I 1,000% agree with that. You cannot, if y'all are living separately, there's no way to fix this marriage. Now, y'all can live separately if y'all need a break from one another. It's like, hey, let's just take a break. Let's, do our own thing, go our own way. Let's separate for a couple of months and then come back together and try to work it out. But you cannot work it out living separately. That's just not going to happen. And that's why I feel like, from what I've heard from Rob and Sophie, I feel like Sophie wants to keep them around. She wants to keep him close enough where he feels like, oh, she's still in this, but not too close where she really has to be his wife. So Rob finds out that Sophie had been intimate with other women, I guess, before they got together. He had no idea. When she confessed to him that she was bisexual, he asked her if she had ever been with a woman, and she had said she kind of brushed it off. She kind of brushed it off, and she was kind of like, this is back, during the regular season. They were sitting out on the patio or in their little garden area, and that's when she confessed to him and said that she was bisexual. He asked her, have you been with other women? She kind of brushed it off, and she was like, well, yeah, I've messed around with a girl, or I've messed around with girls, but I've never dated them. I've never been emotionally like attached to a woman or emotionally connected to a woman. And so I thought that maybe she kind of fooled around a little bit with girls, but did not actually go all the way with them. That's what I thought. And I guess Rob thought the same thing because he was surprised to find out that she had been intimate with women before she got with him. So both Ed and Liz said that this was really dishonest of Sophie to not reveal this to her husband. Sophie got really defensive. She claimed that she did tell him that within that conversation she did make it clear to him that she was intimate with women. And I didn't get that impression. Rob didn't get that impression. So I don't know. So then her best friend Kay comes out. Obviously, Kay is not a fan of these two people being together. Kay really wants Sophie to leave Rob. Kay thinks that Rob is the biggest a-hole ever. Sean asks Kay if she's attracted to Sophie. And Kay was like, let's get this straight. I am 100% straight. I'm 100% heterosexual. I don't go that way at all. Sophie then whines about how horribly Rob treats her. When Sophie starts crying, it gets under my skin. It really gets under my skin. Because to me, she's a grown woman who thinks that all I have to do is turn on the waterworks and people are just going to automatically sympathize with me and they're going to be on my side. She uses her tears and her crying as a tactic to manipulate people into being on her side. And I hate that. I really, really hate that. Because if you're intelligent enough and if you feel like you are really in the right, you don't have to use those type of tactics. You can just give your side of the story, tell people how you feel and how you think. And if you're right, you're right. But I feel like when she's losing the fight, when she feels like she's losing support, the waterworks come on so that people can start babying her and coddling her and be like, oh, Sophie, we understand, Sophie. It's going to be okay, Sophie. And I hate that. So she turns on the waterworks and she talks about, oh, he treats me so horribly, blah, blah, blah. If he's treating you so horribly, Sophie, then why can't you let this man go? Kick him to the damn curb. If he's treating you so horribly, let him go. Then they show the clip of Rob at his birthday celebration when he went back to his hometown and he was at the club and the bottle girl was all over him. So Rob admitted that he did enjoy the attention that this bottle girl was giving him. Sophie asked him, did you get her details? Rob said no. Sophie then says, I've seen that girl on his Instagram. So Rob says, yeah, she found me on Instagram and I followed back. And then Sophie was like, you see, you're lying. You're lying because I just asked you if you got her details and you said you didn't. And he was like, you asked me if I thought when she asked him that, I thought she meant, did he get her details that night? Were they exchanging phone numbers and were they exchanging social media information that particular night? That's what I thought she meant when she asked him, did you get her details? Because it was right after they showed the clip of what happened that night. And then she goes, did you get her details? And he said, no. Later on, the girl found him. He followed back. So now, oh, you're lying. You're lying. I just, okay, whatever, Sophie. So the question was, Sophie, are you committed to making this work? She says, together we're not good. Rob says if she's no longer, Rob said if, he says, I was willing to try for however long she was willing to try. But if she's done, then I'm done. But then next week, I think we see them sitting together holding hands, I think. Jasmine asked if they can give it one more chance with therapy. And I'm like, no, please stop encouraging these people to stay together in this toxic relationship. Stop trying to keep two people together who have no business being together. If they've been physically apart during their marriage, if they spent more time apart than together, and they're constantly arguing and bickering, and they say the kind of things that they say to each other, don't encourage them to be together. So at the end of the tell-all, they wrap for the day. People are walking off stage. Sophie and Rob, they're still sitting there and they're arguing about what, I don't know. Sophie says that she doesn't want to get a divorce right now, but it possibly in the future. These are the games that she plays. Why don't you want to get a divorce right now? You don't really want to work on the marriage. You don't want to live with your husband. What exactly is the reason that you don't want to get a divorce right now? Sophie says that she likes Jasmine now because Jasmine was talking a lot of crap about Rob during their break or whatever. So because Jasmine was like, oh, Rob is horrible. And I know that he liked that girl at the club and he was lying about what really went down at the club. Sophie liked that. So now she likes Jasmine because before she was scared to death of Jasmine. Didn't want Jasmine anywhere near her. Now she likes Jasmine. Back at the mansion, y'all, I don't know what happened to Angela and Michael. Soon after their segment ended, they both were gone. They didn't even keep Michael. Angela left voluntarily, but I thought Michael would have stayed, to give his input on other people's relationships. But Michael wasn't even on stage after Angela left. He was gone too. So Jasmine and Gino, they're everybody's in the mansion now, right? We see Jasmine and Gino kissing, and this kiss seemed a lot more organic than their previous kiss because they weren't being told to kiss. So I don't know. They make it seem like things are working out between them. Everybody gets into the damn hot tub. Ashley says that she never realized how much tension there was between Thaís and John. And Patrick was like, yeah, I didn't realize it either. How could you not? Patrick, how could you not realize there was tension between your wife and your brother? I mean, it's so obvious. Ever since Thaís arrived in the United States, there was always tension. And I mean, I hate to say this, but John kind of started it with Thaís when she first came to America. He would kind of try to get under her skin. He would bother her. He would say certain things to her. So John kind of started it. So I'm not understanding how Patrick says, no, I didn't realize there was tension between those two. Thaís confronts Ed about the grow up comment because Ed I thought he told Sophie to grow up, but I guess he told Thaís also on stage to grow up. And so Thaís confronted him about that. And Thaís says to him, why are you always against women? And then Ed says, not one of you MFers came to my defense. Then Thaís said, you're the MFer. So Thaís and Ed, they go back and forth. Thaís splashes water on Ed. And I'm thinking, and Patrick is just sitting there. So Patrick, you said you don't get in between your brother and Thaís because you don't want to choose sides. What is your excuse for not getting in between Thaís and Ed? This man called your wife an MFer and you're not going to say anything about it? You're not even going to tell him to just chill out? I mean, you don't have to beat him up or anything or drown him in the hot tub, but you can't even be like, hey, Ed, don't call my wife that. He said nothing. Thaís leaves the hot tub. Patrick follows. They go back inside. John is there. So now everybody starts talking about John and Thaís and what their issues are. Thaís once again complains about he doesn't say hi to me when he comes to the house. And so Ashley or somebody was like, okay, what do you want from John? And Thaís says, I just want him to respect me. And so John was like, okay, no, that's not a big deal. No problem. So he says, I'll say hi to you or whatever. People tell him to hug, they hug it out, whatever. Patrick did say that John is like this with all of his girlfriends. He gives all of his girlfriends a really hard time. And I think it's because, John is attached to Patrick and maybe he feels some kind of way whenever Patrick has a woman in his life because he feels like, he's going to have less time with his brother, which is, understandable. Back in the hot tub, Rob and Sophie, they're going at it. Sophie's accusing Rob of contacting other women, wanting to spend time with other women, reaching out to other women. Rob is denying it. Sophie says that she's got the receipts to prove it because she has a voice note where Rob was saying to another woman, I can't wait for you to come to LA, or I can't wait to see you when you're in LA, something to that effect. So next week, they're supposed to show these receipts of Rob trying to get with other women. Now, y'all, the only really interesting thing about the tell-all was Angela and Michael and how the private investigator had nothing on Michael. That was the only interesting thing. Rob and Sophie constantly bickering. I'm over it. I really don't care about that. Thaís and Patrick, it was a little bit interesting with Thaís and Patrick to see that there was like these issues between them. Like I never knew that she didn't want to have any more children and he did. I don't know if Thaís is trying to gear herself up for this whole social media lifestyle, where she can get all these brand deals and do all the social media content and she doesn't want to ruin her body again with another pregnancy. I wonder if that's what it is because I'm not understanding exactly how this conversation was not had somewhere before they got married. That's like a big, big, big conversation to have. You got to talk to your future spouse on whether or not we're going to have kids. And if we are, how many children? And are you the type of person that if we get one gender only, you're determined to keep on procreating until you get the gender that you want? These are things that need to be discussed way ahead of time. They claim they talked about it. Patrick said that she had promised to have a couple of kids. And she was like, oh, I would never say that. What? I would never say that. So she seems to be content with one. So that was kind of interesting to see the dynamic between Patrick and Thaís. And Patrick, it's not cool for you to say, if you don't have sex with me, then you must be cheating on me. That's not cool at all. Sometimes you're just not in the mood, you're too tired, whatever, etc. Don't force your wife to. And how is it even enjoyable for you if you know that you kind of forced her to do this when she really didn't want to? Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it on your way out. Please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.